It's been a week since I gave a progress update on the client, the microblogging client, so I thought I would put together a quick video just to explain where we're up to. So let's start the server on here. Now I have actually made some changes to the server. Simply to support some additional functions to support the client. But I also got a bit sidetracked in that I rewrote a large portion of the server, which I'll tell you about later if we get time in this video. But anyway, you can see here we've got the server started, and at the moment it's sending out the microblog announcement. Let's just send the microblog announcement. And if I flip over to the client machine, you can see we've seen the microblog announcement just there. Now, a brief word there. I'm going to change this announcement message so that it includes the name of the blog. So it will be at MB and then the blog name, which in this case will be M0PXO and then 29. This is in preparation for us separating out the name of the blog from the name of the station so that we can deliver the same blog on multiple stations. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that in passing. Okay, so now we've got the server running. Let's now go back to the client machine and we will start up the client. Now I'm going to start it from PyCharm. It will start, this is my IDE, it will start from the command line, but I'll start it from here. Okay, so no big surprises since the last video. In this way, looking at this bit, it still has the sample data loaded, which we load up as part of the sort of setup. Okay, so the first thing is, if I put in the command L is greater than 19, I get an instant response. And that's because you can see up here that we have all of the entries for 20 through 24. We already have those in the cache. So doing L greater than 19 simply pulls them out of the cache. Now, I could do L greater than 24 because I have up to 29 blogs, posts available. If we look over here, it says M0PXO, latest post ID is 29. But what I'm going to do, instead of doing that, I'm going to, instead of putting in L greater than, say, 24, I'm going to just enter the L command because I wanted to explain a bit about that. So what you can see it's going to do is it's looked at the blog list and said, okay, well, the latest blog is 29, and it's taken the latest 5 entries, which it doesn't have in cache, and so it's now going off to the server to get that data. So if we look back in JS8Call, you can see that there it is, it's sending the command. Now you notice that it's listed the post IDs. It could have done LG24 actually, and that would have achieved the same thing. But in this case, it's done it as a list, and the list is one of the things that I added, the features that I added to the server. So let's flip over into the server, and you can see that it's successfully received the request, and now it's formulated a response which has a plus just there, which indicates this is a positive response. It's echoing the command, and then it's showing the output. And now it's just simply pumping that through JS8Call, as we can see just here, and it's pushing that through JS8Call and back to the client machine. While it's doing that, because that's going to take a while, I'll explain a bit about the other changes I made to the server. So I added this feature that allows us to list post IDs, but I also changed the way the CLI, the command line interface, and the API, the application program interface, work. Previously, because I'd written the command line interface first and then I wrote the API, there was a lot of duplicate functionality. Now what I've done is I've changed it so that the CLI simply translates any incoming requests into an API call. So layering the code more, which is more what you would see in a typical IT system. You know, an IT system would have that sort of layering of functionality. Now, an advantage with doing that is that where I had duplicated functionality in the CLI interface and in the API, now I just have, you know, the heavy lifting part in the API, which means that it's easier to maintain. I don't have to maintain functionality in two different places. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of it actually receiving the data, so we should be okay. And there you see. So in the client, we've received all of the information that we expect. Now, if I do the L command again, as you probably would expect, it's just pulled it straight out of the cache. So we've got other cached items in here. I think I've shown you this before, but if I do get 24, it just pulls that straight out of the cache. It doesn't have to go to the server to do it. But if I do get 28, then again, it hasn't got that in the cache, and so it goes off to the server and gets the data. So that's where we are so far. Although the get command has been sent to the server, the response, I haven't yet written the code to process the response, although it's not a big deal, quite honestly. The only other thing probably worth mentioning is that you probably noticed from my previous video and from the documentation that the client had two threads, one for the GUI, one for this interface, graphical interface, and one for the back-end processing and program logic and comms. It turned out that it was a lot easier to write the comms in a separate thread. And so now there is actually a separate thread for the communication with JS8Call. I've also written it in a way that in theory we can take out the JS8Call driver, I've called it a driver, and replace it with a driver from another method, another transport mechanism like WinLink or something like that. So there may be ways of extending this. Okay, I think that's enough for the moment. Hope you found that useful, and I'll update you when I've got something more to tell you.